got me a good girl waiting at home. I don't ever worry 'cause she don't ever roam. Well, now one cold one done turned into two. Mind is willing, but the flesh is weak. What's a man to do? Told her I quit gambling, find an honest job. Did I clean up, darling? Did I done found God? Just like a moth is pulled into the flame, flicker of that neon and it's off the wagon again. Yeah, this high life is making me alive. Just a cold one and some honky-tonk special I found. When the dim lights of every cheap dive, it keeps me out, fooling around. Well, I'm sure she's had enough, but she's packed and ready to go. Well, I try to fight that thirst, it don't even show. When I tell you, honey, it's just about Miller time. In about an hour I'll be stoned out of my mind. It is high life, making me alive. Just a cold one and some honky-tonk special I found. When the dim lights of every cheap dive, it keeps me out, just pulling around. It keeps me out, just pulling around.
That was High Life by Christopher Seymore, our guest tonight on Vinyl Voices Show. Thanks for playing that. That was very cool. All right.
Kevin Skurla and I wrote that. And then we cut a version of it. I guess that would have been like 2016 or 17 when we wrote that song.
Okay.
We had a demo version for a while, and then I lost my voice for 2 years.
You did. I kind of remember your voice changing.
I lost my voice entirely. Like I couldn't hold a conversation for 15 minutes without it completely wearing out and going hoarse on me. And so I had to stop singing entirely for about 2 years. And then I put a band together, got back on the horse, and played a show. And the next week they shut it down for the pandemic.
Wow.
So it was about 4 years where I didn't play out.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
I didn't play with anybody. And so, yeah, I think Kevin and I had, right before as I was transitioning to losing my voice, which really came out of an injury in the studio where I lost tension in my vocal cords in the middle of singing a session. It was a real weird feeling. Yeah. And then it was gone for a long time. Wow. And so, yeah, and my voice is different now than it was.
I do always remember you had a higher singing voice.
I also think that's just smoking a ton and like drinking too much and like living a good, clean, healthy Christian
high life,
life.
low life.
Yeah. So I think some of that, and I'm also, as far as male vocalists, I'm already past my peak. So, I'm on the downhill trajectory. I'm just going to Ray Price this shit and just get deeper as I go,
Your balls are dropping.
Yeah, I'll be baritone by the time I hit 65,
Me too.
Yeah, they call that gravity, Gladys, yeah. So, but yeah, it was just kind of that transition, happened in that transition period when I wrote that song. A lot of the songs, were like written in interesting circumstances. But yeah, that song is always fun. I do remember we wanted to put the beer crack at the beginning of the recording, and we're like, oh, what do we have? We found, of all things, like an old Miller Lite. So it had a little extra pop to it because that thing had been in the fridge for like 2 years. Because Kevin doesn't drink, So like if there's beer out there, it's just because people brought beer out to the studio and left it, And so I was like just some rando Miller Lite in the fridge.
And I've never been out to his studio, but I've seen pictures and I've heard things that come from it. And
What's the
Looks
studio called?
amazing.
Wolf Island Recording Company.
Yeah, and Skurlo's a fantastic pedal steel and guitar player.
He can literally play
He
anything.
can do anything.
Yeah.
He's a genius.
All his songs, he'll
As you
play
said.
drums,
Yeah.
he'll play piano, he'll play
Yeah.
whatever, you know. And so,
And he's a nice guy to boot.
oh, fantastic human. Yeah. Yeah, I always feel lucky. I find myself surrounded by like just A+ people a
That's
lot.
good.
So
That is a fun song, and is it included in what you guys did for the live recording? Because I want to talk about that a little.
Yeah.
yeah, it is included in what we did for the live recording, which I think is probably going to end up being a video album.
Nice.
When
The
it's
video
all-
for that
yeah.
song is great too, by the way. But
Oh yeah,
it's actually a solid video.
yeah, we did shoot a music video up in Huntsville, Texas, which is like one of my little favorite places to go fishing and hang out in. Which is literally just hanging out in the woods because there's nothing up there, you know. But
It looks fun.
yeah,
But you're saying the Continental Show is going to be a video? Yeah, it's like
yeah,
a
it'll be
little
a video album.
documentary.
Yeah, we recorded in a little mini doc.
Nice.
It's like what Avery and I are calling it, probably like 20-30 minutes.
Awesome.
Which I haven't even started to. I haven't even listened
asked
to. I haven't
Avery
listened to
this-
the recordings. I
The
haven't even
show
heard them
was
yet.
just like
Yeah,
a couple weeks
it was
ago,
just
right?
yeah, it was just
yeah, it was a couple
2
weeks back, and we're so focused on getting the studio album
Yeah.
out
Right.
that like I know it's on kind of on my mental back burner right now, just because we've got to get the album ready for pressing, and that's such a time crunch, you know. We're final mixes now,
Yeah.
and then you got your masters, and then you can start looking at pressings and stuff.
Right.
And all these songs are gonna be on King of Nothing.
These songs, all three of these songs that we're talking about today, including HighLife and also Cheated On that we
Yeah.
talked about in Drunk Enough, are all going to be on that record.
Nice.
I've all released them previously
yeah,
as singles, but yeah, they're a part of that
Nice.
conglomerate of
Nothing.
songs.
I look
yeah.
forward to that. It's a
Yeah. Why
neat
King of Nothing?
conglomeration. Yeah.
Why King of
Doesn't it
Nothing?
relate?
Yeah.
Like when I heard that, I was like, I kind of feel like I got nothing
was-
sometimes, but I'm good. You know,
Yeah,
like
that
I'm okay,
idea.
but I really have nothing.
Yeah, it's like, you know, it's like that whole I had it all, but I lost it all kind of
Okay,
thing.
yeah.
Like, I used to have all these things, but now,
rule the world. Right.
yeah, it's a little Ozymandias. Or like, one of the images I got in my head when I wrote the song and I put it in there was like Humpty Dumpty. You
Yeah.
know? Like this, he just like fell off the wall, and no matter how much he had, it couldn't put him back together again, right? And I think that's what that song feels like. I was working in the mid-main parking garage when I wrote that song as a parking attendant in that
King of
little
Nothing?
hole, in that whole little cave of
yeah.
an office.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it just was one of those things. And I came up with that line when I was out at the farm at Wolf Island, at the studio, and I was talking to Kevin. I was like, yeah, I used to be the king of nothing. I was like, I'm the king of nothing, but I used to have it all. He's like, you should write that song. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe I should. So, yeah.
There you
Yeah.
go.
And so when the album, like spring or?
Spring, yeah.
Okay.
April, May, I think is like a true tentative release date. I'm not committing to anything until I book the show for the album release, and I have to, you know. But I know it's gonna be like that early part of the second quarter or the end of the first quarter of the year. So
And you and your band toured pretty regularly now, so
Pretty
I'm sure with
regularly.
that you'll
yeah,
Western
we're
cosplay will
I
go
think
play.
I'll do some dates out west in the spring or the early summer, and then I know we're headed back up to New York and Nashville again in March,
Nice.
and we're headed up there next month in January. So
Awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
'cause tour, I mean, you know, you have to do it. We were talking about this a little bit beforehand, but there's, you know, it's fun too. Like, I mean, I really am just like, I want to tug like a good tour story out of you because, you know,
oh, it's the best worst thing ever. You know?
right?
Well, it was there. I think it's the one thing that I think people don't really realize is that sometimes it's just not that glamorous.
Yeah.
I find that most people in their life are like, I want a life full of adventure, but they really don't want a
Yeah.
life full of adventure. That means like narrow escapes and near misses, man.
You're taking a
You know,
dump in a
that's
box.
like when
mister.
everything went wrong, but it worked out. That's an
Yeah.
adventure, you know?
Yeah.
So I think tour can be a lot like that, or a lot of like sleeping in the van or sleeping in the back of a venue, or seeing the back of a venue and seeing the inside of a van and then
Yeah.
seeing the back of a venue.
Right.
You know, depending on what those things can be like. But I think some of it is just like, I think the better stories I have from touring are probably like tour managing a little
Yeah.
bit too. You know, where you go, like we went to playing, like Tweet was playing Fort Worth, and I was tour managing for him. We go up, and he played Tulips, and I was like, all right, I'll find us a motel, because I was TMing, and I was looking it up. I was like, oh, this place is great. 6 minutes from the venue, they got a pool, because that was one of the things I personally wanted that night, was to get a cigarette and a glass full of booze and get in the pool, you know, like that's all I wanted.
Sure.
I didn't care if I had to jump the gate to do it. I was like, I'll break the rules for that, you know? And so like, all right, cool. It's pretty cheap. Excellent. Dude, we show up to this place and it is one of the seediest shitholes I've ever stepped foot into.
A pool that gets you pregnant?
Well, first of all, I book it, you know, and we're pulling in, and I look over and I see the pool, and it just looks like a putting green.
No.
It's just like solid green.
Oh my god.
And it says closed, and I'm like, all right, that already upsets me a little bit, but I'm all right. So I go to the office, and then the guy tries to charge me extra for the room, and I'm like, nah.
No, there's no pool.
Homie. I was like, I get it, you're saying it's non-refundable, but I'm not staying in that room if you charge me that. This is what I got quoted by y'all online, and then I called and booked the reservation, and that's what I booked it for. So he finally was like, all right, well, I'll let you have it for this. I was like, oh, all right, cool, man. You let me have it. That's nice of you. You know, thanks. And we show up to this room. It's 110 degrees in the room because it's Fort Worth in like September. And it's 100 degrees plus in the room. There's blood all over the mattress and the sheets. Like a crime scene happened, dude. There's just like stuff all over the place, like used condoms on the counter in the bathroom and cigarettes put out on the counter.
Those are extra. He gave you a deal.
Puddle in the floor of the bathroom of some mysterious substance, you know, and it just smells like cigarettes and dog piss in there. And of course the guys are like hot. They're like, oh, I'm gonna go down there. I was like, no, I got it. So I went down and got it switched over, and it's like somebody almost shot somebody because they came flying out of a room. I'm not gonna go into details about that, but it was just like there were just a colorful element there, you know, and a Waffle House.
And a Waffle
And a
House.
Waffle House.
Always
All right, there has to be a
colorful,
Waffle House.
And a Waffle House.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, that's the punctuation
Yeah.
on that story. I love that.
Anything
Pretty
goes.
decent Waffle House with 2 armed guards. You know, it's like you know. So yeah, like it could be like those situations where you end up in like weird, shitty motels where one of the guys pushed 2 chairs together to sleep in. He was our buddy.
Like, this is how
Like he has a reputation for sleeping anywhere and in any position. And so like he took 2 chairs together because he didn't want to sleep on the mattresses.
Yeah.
And like laid out, you know, feet between one side of the chair and then laying with the other back of the chair here, like with the 2 chairs pushed together.
With all his clothes on.
Yeah. Yeah. I slept on top of the covers and all my clothes too. It was
Sometimes you gotta do that.
yeah. Well, I mean, you get those stories where like us almost dying going down the mountain in Colorado a few weeks back.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's the van's shaking and I'm like taking curves and going in the other lane, and you know, like there's always adventures like that, you know.
Lady with 2 black eyes and no teeth, crying and laughing.
Crying in the front row, baby. They're like, ma'am, you have to leave, and she's like, and I mean, you laugh, but like at the moment,
No,
it
that's
felt
fucking-
really,
Oh no.
Yeah.
really tragic, and I think
No,
we
it is
almost were in fights 3 times in that bar.
Jesus.
Just because like some guy walked, and I don't know if you guys know who David Miner is.
I don't.
He's a large man.
Okay.
Like he's got a few inches on me, and he's a little broader in the shoulders, if you know what I mean. So it's like he's like a big guy, and this dude just came up and just starts talking crazy shit to us. Sitting in the bar, and David's like, "Excuse me." I was like, "Ah, don't do that,
No,
man.
no,
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. If he chokes you right now, I'm just gonna watch. You're real annoying." No, but yeah, it was like I don't want to talk about Oak Creek particularly. I mean,
You don't have
the
to.
venue treated us really well.
No. You didn't
Bar
have to
staff
say
was
anything
awesome.
specific.
And
It
the
was
town itself,
just a
people were
reference.
sweet, but it was just like it was Western as fuck out
Yeah.
there. It was just Western as fuck, you know, and
They should have that on the side.
lots,
Yeah.
lots of drugs going on that night. Not with us.
Right.
I mean, we were, you know, but like it's just like it was like one of those
Yeah.
moments.
You're booked. You got to play it.
Yeah, and you know, it's like snowy getting out there, and like I haven't driven in snow in 10 years, and I show up and it's a blizzard. I'm like, this is like, you know, I lived up north for 8 years, and I only went through one real blizzard up there, and we show up in Santa Fe, and I'm like, it never snows like this early in the season. Oh, great. So yeah, you get those.
I love
Western as fuck. All I imagine is like the band behind the chicken wire.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah, it was Western out there. It was fun.
I'm glad you made it. You
Yeah.
boys did okay.
Yeah,
Now you're here with us.
but you get those tours from hell, like one where we got booked in this venue. This was like forever ago. It's before Son of Bitch. It's before all those other bands. I was just out of college, and we got booked at this venue in Erie, Pennsylvania. We're on a little short leg tour, about 6 dates. I'm going over to New York and back, and we get up there. The venue forgets they even booked us.
No.
Like, and they had beer on the stage, but it wasn't for us. And it was for the other band that they actually booked. And so we're like, okay. And they're like, well, you know, I was like,
Talk
well,
about getting cheated
I was
on,
like, well, I have an email right here where you guys confirm this date and we expect to get paid and we're here, so we're going to play it. So like, well, you know, we can maybe give you an hour at the beginning of this. Great. Take an hour. You know, it's like, nah, we're here. You double booked it. That's not my problem. I showed up, you know? And so, you know, we play the show and we drink half of their beer, of course, before they remove it from the stage. Because we're just like, oh, I'm taking 4, you know? 'Cause we're all 20-something, you know, and like wild. And so, you know, we finish up this set and then I'm, you know, waiting there talking to get paid, you know, and our guys are loading out. And I see our keyboard player carrying out his like throne and a couple other items, and he brushes this guy's shoulder as he's walking out the door, and the guy goes, "Oh, what? You want to go?" And then our keyboard player's like, "No, I don't want to go, man. I'm cool." You know, and he goes to turn around, and the dude just reaches around and sucker punches him, like cuts him in the eye right here, you know, like, and unfortunately, my pal is like straight up schizophrenic. So then he just is completely out of his mind, you know, over this situation because it's like an extreme emotional situation.
Right.
And they kick them, of course, both out of the bar at the same time. So I'm like, finally get the check and I'm walking out, I'm talking to the bouncer. And I look over and it's bike week in Erie. So there's just like, we're downtown and there's motorcycles lined up the entire city block, just, you know, double rows of bikes. And I look down and I see Jeremy walking back to the van, has pulled up at the end of the thing, you know, and of course they're throwing the doors open and these fools have hotboxed that shit. So there's just smoke pouring, billowing out on this main drag in the middle of bike week with cops and God watching, you know. And yeah, our tour manager at the time was like, "What happened?" He goes, "Oh, that guy over there hit me." Well, the guy saw Jeremy point at him. So he's comes walking over. And so our tour manager walks out to be like, whoa, man. And he hits him, breaks his glasses. And now they're locked up and going. And then our guitar player tries to get between them. But the guy's buddy takes and slams our guitar player. So now there's a brawl going on between our band and like these 3 dudes. And I see this dude on top of the guitar player and I just go, all right, and I just take off down the street, tackle this dude, and I see Jeremy flying through the air, punching this guy. Dave's got one guy in a half Nelson. They dislocate our guitar player's arm. We have to take him to the hospital. He's like shot up on ketamine. And then Jeremy had a scratched cornea that had to take him to the hospital.
Oh my God.
So me and the tour manager went back to the bar and got more incapacitated than anybody that had to go to the hospital. So they finally one of their parents lives up in Erie, and so they call in like, "Hey, Mom, Dad, can you come pick us up?" So they pick them up from the hospital. Glenn's like eyes rolling in the back of his head on ketamine, and me and the tour manager are walking out, can't hardly walk out of the bar. So like somebody got sick on the way home, and we're like, all right. So we had to drive all the way back to Pittsburgh, drop the keyboard player off and the drummer. We cancel our gig in Buffalo and we're skipping over and going to Rochester instead. We get to Irving, New York, and the wheel bearing blows out on the van and we're stranded. So we end up like breaking 40s in a ditch and playing hacky sack kitchen staff of this place in this little town when there's nothing there. And then we didn't have cymbals, and then the other gig got canceled and we ended up losing the tour, you know? Yeah. So I always compare it to that when I'm like, well,
that sounds pretty bad.
Nobody ended up in the hospital, in the jail. Nobody's dead. The car still works. We made it back okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Best worst times. You know?
That is a beautiful, beautiful story. We're going to end the segment on that. But we can't go beyond that.
There we go.
But thank you for telling that story.
Yeah, it's fun.